Welcome to this video talk with the title What It Means to Be a Rosicrucian, a Search for the Reason of Living. He's an average person, and by the way, we use he for linguistic reasons, but for he, also fill in she, of course. He's an average person. He is healthy, he has completed a good education, has a close-knit family, a loving partner, maybe some children. The job is not really what he would like, but oh well, it brings in the money for the mortgage and the household expenses, and the colleagues are okay. But something itches inside him. There is never a complete enjoyment, a full satisfaction in his life. And he seeks to relieve this inner itch by gathering material things, by traveling, by socializing and partying, by reading and intellectual pursuits, and finally by attending so-called New Age growth courses. And they all add to his understanding of the essentials of life, but one question remains unanswered in his quest. Why am I still dissatisfied? Why is it that while I have everything I need, I still feel this unrest within me? And with a smile, he feels that he can really relate to that famous line from the singer Peggy Lee, "Is that all there is?" And she gives her answer as, "Then let's keep dancing, break out the booze, and have a ball." But our man, our woman, thinks, no, not for me anymore. I've been there, and it's dulled the itch, but it's still there. So he starts to seek for spiritual essentials. And he observes that there are two kinds of people, religious and non-religious. And the religious ones can be divided again into church followers and in what you might call spiritual explorers. And these spiritual explorers can be classified again in the ones that want to further develop their personality, their ego, and the ones that follow the literal meaning of the word religion, which comes from the Latin religare, which means to reunite, and which ultimately comes from the Sanskrit word shruti, which means binding in unity with the divine. But a reunion with what? And for a binding, there must be something within him that the divine can unite with. And he realizes, after contemplating this for some time, that cannot be his thoughts, not his mind. For with every thought that he has, even about lofty and elevated subjects, he finds that these thoughts beget more thoughts, and finally leave with the opposite of unity in disorder and in confusion. So then he starts studying the original manuscripts of the great teachers through the ages, and he discovers that there are some similarities in these teachings, and he lists them as follows. 1. Man is more than his mortal body. He is in essence an energy being, a microcosm. 2. Earth is apparently not the final destination in the universe for mankind, but humanity has what is termed fallen onto this material plane of existence. 3. This, our Earth, our material plane of existence, is a school of life to learn lessons. And 4. These lessons are set in motion via the law of polarities, the law of opposites, the law of duality, which is essential to this world and because of which nothing is ever permanent. So, 5, everything in this world is finite, in a continuous process of rising, shining, and fading again. So, what it all comes down to, he realizes, it's that this earth is at the same time a curse and a blessing. It is a curse because nothing is ever everlasting. Everything comes and goes. Good and evil keep each other in balance. And it is a blessing, a mercy, because due to this instability, nothing can ever crystallize permanently. It keeps mankind in motion. And motion means experience. And experience means lessons. And lessons mean change. Until the ultimate realization that this world, this our world, is not divine, is not our end station, is not and cannot be made into a paradise. However hard and however long we try. And the man that we follow in his discoveries then turns to the law of reincarnation. Is that a possible escape of death? Well, as you know, death is the outcome when the renewal of cells in our body does not keep pace with its wastage. The human organism normally renews itself within a period of some 7 years, but in the long run, this proves to be too slow a process, so that due to all kinds of diseases or a decline in life energy, he, she, we dies. And there is a belief among religious adherents that when man dies, he will go to his eternal home. Alas, the physical body and its controlling mechanism, the egoic consciousness, both disintegrate, and only the microcosm, the microcosmic energy sphere, which housed the body and the ego, remain until such a time when a new mortal personality is installed in the microcosm and is brought in contact with all the experiences of all its predecessors in the microcosmic energy sphere. And we call all this past experience our kismet, our fate, our karma. In this way, he finds after some study of this phenomenon that a new baby starts with a backpack of karma from former personalities in the microcosm. It is not a blank sheet. And thus, the wheel of birth and death begins a new cycle, another rotation from birth to the grave. So man, well, in fact, his microcosm, remains bound to the wheel of birth and death without any prospect of release for perhaps thousands and thousands of years. So then the question becomes urgent for the man we follow through what we might call as labyrinth of life. How do I free myself from this wheel? How can I return like the prodigal son or daughter in the Bible story? How can I return to the house of my father? How can I return to the plane of existence that my microcosm left in ancient times? And he finds that, quite apart from the mainstream religion, there have always been so-called initiation schools, mystery schools, spiritual schools, in which seekers studied the inner nature of man in order to free the potential that lies in his or her spiritual nature. And he learns about the Cathars, the Bogomils, the Hermetic schools, the teachings of Plato and Pythagoras, the Buddha, of course, the Vedic and the Vedanta systems, the Taoist masters in China, etc., etc. And they were, in their times, often ruthlessly persecuted by the power-hungry established church organizations of their time because they did not conform to their rules and the dogmas, but stated that no priest and no organization can come between an individual and the cosmic all-creator. As it was written in one of these schools of inner knowledge, we offer to uncover the primeval nature of man, his fundamental spiritual nature, and to reveal the wondrous composition of his inner self. It is our task to bring the pearls of truth that are buried within him to the surface. And there is another fact that he gleans from his investigation in the spiritual aspects of man. With some surprise, he notes that man is a twofold being. There is, on the one hand, of course, a pretty strong influence of the ego, which drives him to thoughts and therefore to feelings and therefore to actions that give him no rest and no peace. And there is, on the other hand, in a spiritually striving human, a deep desire for the development of the higher aspects within him. And these initiation schools, these spiritual schools, guide their pupils to solve this contradiction. That was, and still is, the puzzle to be solved in the life of a seeker who yearns for the higher purposes in his life. He has a physical body. Yes, he has indeed an earthly personality who are of this earth and who cease to exist after death. They are instruments, as it were, to express ourselves in this world, in this physical plane. But also, man has in his heart a divine flame, a divine spark. And this is not of this earth. It is the last remnant of the original energy being which he or she was in the divine realm from which he and she departed in ancient times. So, with all this knowledge and these insights, he rests for a while and he contemplates what to do with all this knowledge. And he realizes this is not about change, this is about a transformation. This situation requires real honesty of what I am and where I stand and what needs to be undertaken with regard to my spiritual potential. If I want to move forward, I shall have to accept that my life will be different from now on. Well, this change started in my thoughts about myself and the world, and it seems that I have taken the first step already, or I wouldn't even contemplate it. From what I've gathered of the spiritual path of liberation, I will have to give up things. I will be disoriented at times. I will make mistakes and have to start over again, etc. But it will be the best work the most rewarding work I'll ever undertake. In fact, to be honest again, I'm only one decision away from a totally different life. And I realize that there will be no ultimate result, no perfect outcome in some 12 months or so. It's not about becoming perfect anyway. It's about the effort, about a daily spiritual awareness, daily spiritual practice. And that is why it's often called the path or the way. And when one implements that effort in one's life, day after day, that's where essential change, where transformation will take place. And a joyful thing of importance is that a personal transformation can and does have an effect on the world around me. As I go, so goes the world, for the world is me and I am the world. So if I want to make a difference to the world, to this suffering world, it is ultimately a personal effort that I must make. But he muses transformation. A transformation into what? I understand that this transformation is essentially a question of changing the energy quality and the energy level of my system in order to build the soul. But in order to build this soul, I must first destroy the me I was raised and educated to be. And to be honest again, that me certainly does not have many divine qualities. It runs mostly on autopilot and thus keeps me locked in past patterns. No, I realize that transforming my life requires courage, commitment, and effort. And it's tempting to stay parked in the zone of that's just how it is. But to transform, I must be willing to become an open end explorer, a spiritual adventurer. In this world, change is inevitable and even rather routine, but for a transformation, there must be a conscious choice for which I can only guess, intuit the outcome. But you know what? Deep down in my soul, I'm getting rather tired of this humdrum life and my own nonsense of justifying it. So I turn to my soul, that unknown but still tangible aspect in me. What do you have to say about this? And the following dialogue develops. Me, hello, soul? Hello? Me, I'm split in two. Do I stay who I am or do I go forward with this path of liberation from this world? I am like several pieces at the same time. Can you make me whole again? Soul, I would rather not. Why not? Because you are not a jigsaw puzzle. Well, what about all the pieces of life that are falling into disorder? Let them stay there for a while. They fell so for a reason. Take some time and decide if you really would be happier if you were to have any of these pieces back. You don't understand. I'm breaking down. Oh, you don't understand. You are breaking through. What you are feeling are just growing pains. You are shedding things and people in your life that are holding you back. You aren't falling apart. You are falling into place. Relax. Take some thought and allow those things that you don't need anymore to fall off of you. Quit holding on to the pieces that don't fit you anymore. Let them go. Well, once I start doing that, what will be left of me? Only the very best pieces of you. You know, I'm rather scared of changing. I keep telling you, you aren't changing. You are transforming. You are becoming. Becoming who? Becoming who you originally were created to be. A being of light, a being of energy, of love and charity and mercy and grace and compassion for world and mankind. You were made for more than the shallow pieces of the ego that you have decided to adorn yourself with and that you cling to with such tenacity and fear. Let them fall off of you. I am with you. Don't change. Transform. Become who you once were. Become a spirit soul. I'm going to keep on telling you this until you take it in and start to act upon it. Oops, there goes another piece of me. Good, let it go. So, I'm not really split up? I'm not broken? Of course not. You are breaking like the dawn. It can be a new day for you. You know, transformation is illumination. And after this inner dialogue, the man realizes I must not wait until the mud of all the daily hassle has settled and the road lies clear before me. I cannot wait for what is called the right action, the right moment. For the perfect moment is always the here and now. It's all I have, myself, in this moment. And together with the seeker in our story, our question may now be what does such a mystery school, such an initiation school do? And secondly, when I decide to become a pupil in such a school, such as the school of the Golden Rosicrucian is, what will be the outcome? Well, the short, direct answer would be it guides you on a path from self to soul to spirit. It means a dying as to the ego and a growing, a maturation of the soul within you. It is an individual path, a path of self initiation, and each pupil has to learn his specific lessons in the time and order that is right for him or her. And as for the second question, what will be the outcome? The Lebanese poet Khalil Gibran writes, it is said that before entering the sea, a river trembles with fear. It looks back on the path it has traveled from the peaks of the mountains, the long winding road, crossing forests and rivers and villages, and in front of it, it sees a ocean so vast that to enter it seems nothing more than to disappear forever. But there is no other way. The river cannot go back. Nobody can go back. To go back is impossible in existence. The river needs to take the risk of entering the ocean, because only then will fear disappear. because then the river will know that it's not about disappearing into the ocean, but about becoming the ocean. Thank you for your attention.